Investors and traders, welcome to the channel Market Chart Pattern. Today is 17th of August 2024. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. We will be taking a look at the key financial stocks and ETFs in this video. As always, this video is for educational purposes only and it is not a financial advice. So we'll start by taking a look at the KRE, which is the S&P Regional Banking ETF. It is the weekly chart we are taking a look at. So over the course of last couple of weeks, right at the 5th of August 2024, where the major indices per hour timing model actually formed a pretty good bottom, and we have seen the major stock indices in the United States and also globally rising. We also see that the KRE is also rising as well. So this is really interesting to see. And also what it means is that this bigger pattern that we have with a target of around 63, 62 and a half, it might be actually heading towards that. And what it will mean is we will be completing two ABCD patterns. One will be this big one, which is the CD leg is 1.618 times the AB leg, and then the purple one, which is a smaller one, where we have the one-to-one price projection. So we'll have a confluence of two of these ratios, the patterns completing, and also we'll have the 61.8% retracement coming. So what it means is that it's going to be a region which is target for us, but it could also actually turn into a pretty strong resistance because of the completion of this pattern. So I'm going to actually highlight it like this by drawing a like this, a colored region. So just to highlight this one, here we go. So around here, if when the market gets there, it's gonna be a region which is of course a target for us, but it is more likely to turn into a pretty strong resistance. So I would expect some sort of a pullback at the minimum, should the market get to about 62.50 level in the KRE. Now, if we move to XLF, which is the S&P 500 Select fund for the financials, so this actually includes some of the stocks such as Berkshire Hathaway. It also includes Visa and Mastercard, which I don't believe are banks. I don't think they have the banking license, but of course, a lot of financial transactions actually go through these credit card companies. Visa and Mastercard, they sort of have a monopoly. And then, of course, the third one is the American Express, much smaller but a very prestigious firm, which is also part of it. This is why we see a different kind of a pattern formation in the XLF than the KRE. So here, pretty strong couple of weeks, and 45 is our target. The market is likely to get to 45. That's going to be our shorter term. Then we have another one around 49 as well, and of course there's a bigger ABCD. So taking one thing at a time on the weekly chart, 45 near term target. A market would actually, it's looking pretty strong. Could get there perhaps next week, and then we have the 49.25 as well. So once the market gets to about 45, there's a chance we could see some sort of a pullback take place in this, because it is 1.272 expansion of the entire 2022 bear market. Now we'll move on to individual stocks. So we'll start by taking a look at the Goldman Sachs. So there we go. Goldman Sachs are looking strong after finding the bottom, the level that we had identified, which was the 38.2% retracement around 431. So it really needs to get above 518 in order to move higher, because this is the 1.618 expansion of the entire 2022 bear market. So pretty important level. So I would really look at this as a range bound market for now, until it breaks the 518 level. So this is what we are looking at in Goldman Sachs, but the last couple of weeks have been a good price action, but against a key resistance level coming from the 518 1.618 Fibonacci expansion. Now let's take a look at the JP Morgan. So a fantastic company, and here we go in JP Morgan. Just long term, let me actually try to show it to you like this. You see this trend line. This is the long-term trend line going back to 2009. It is intact. Fantastic company. The stock over the course of last couple of weeks has done pretty well. It is right back to our key resistance level, which is the 1.618, right from the 216 level. This is where it found pretty strong resistance actually, and went down to about 190. So that is about 20 bucks, 26 bucks correction. It was also a three drives to a top pattern as well. So the key thing is that it did not go below the low of 10th of June 2024, excuse me. It did not close below that, especially on the weekly basis. So that's great, which meant that this is a pretty strong support, and the momentum has also become much better because the price is above the 20-week moving average. So that's great. However, there is one thing that, in my opinion, the JP Morgan stock is actually in a pretty wide trading range, and the reason is that it has completed this big ABCD pattern. This is something that we took a look at in our previous week's video. So that's on the monthly chart, and of course the price is above that because it's such a momentum is such strong in this stock is likely to actually more likely go into some sort of a trading range. So in my opinion, 200 225 is kind of remains the quite a big trading range for this stock. Of course, it's a fantastic company. The stock can actually move higher than 225, but the reason is mainly because of this technical ABCD really long term actually completing around the $200 mark, and then we have some of the other Fibonacci expansions coming around here, in that 223 200 $223 per share mark. On the fundamental reason, what I'm thinking is that what could be the catalyst other than the technical factor, which is the ABCD completion. The CEO and of the company, Jamie Dimon, who's been a superstar CEO, he has actually publicly announced that he's like eyeing retirement in a few years' time. We don't know exactly when that could happen, and he's actually in the process of picking up the next kind of management, and of course it will be handpicked by Jamie Dimon, so there will be really superstars as well. But of course, with the Mr. Dimon not being at the top, you know is going to be a different kind of a company. So that might actually lead to some of the really long-term investors actually reducing some of the exposures. That's just my thought process. I do not know what is likely to happen. All I can say is that from a technical perspective, this big ABCD is complete, and we are looking at some sort of a trading range scenario to actually develop for the JP Morgan stock. Now let's take a look at the American Express. This is the weekly chart for American Express. American Express is right in this box, which we had identified as a potential. Of course, it was a target, but also a resistance zone now, because right at the 260 level, 260 to be precise, it's completing the big ABCD, and because of that, we could actually see some sort of pullback at least, or maybe even a correction take place in the stock. We did see a pullback happen, but just like the Goldman Sachs stock, it actually found support and never really closed below the 10th June lows. So that's a positive for the stock. But keep on watching this 262 level really carefully, because that's target for us, but it could turn into some sort of a resistance where we could expect some at least a pullback to happen, but maybe something a little bit more, just because we'll be completing a really big pattern of the lows of the March of 2020. So there we go. Really need to keep an eye on the American Express stock. Now let's take a look at the Bank of America. Here we go. This is the weekly chart of Bank of America. Bank of America is one of our favorite banking stocks, because there are some fantastic, really long-term patterns which are actually operating in this stock. I did a beginning of this year, I did a video in which I actually show those patterns. So I think it's going to be a fantastic watch for educational purposes. So feel free to actually hop over to the archive sections and find the video, and please do watch that. Now here we had a key resistance zone in this because the 61.8% retracement is smaller, the blue ABCD and also the black ABCD completing in this zone, and what we saw was timing come in because of this triangle patterns here, the week of 15th of July, and we have seen 3 weeks in which the market actually went much lower but right towards the support from the structure around here, and I believe that was it actually. Here we go. I believe it also went to pretty much to the 50% level, so it actually retraced the 50% rally actually. So that's really interesting. So now what the stock is doing is creeping higher, um, just like all the financial stocks are actually after since the 5th of August they are moving higher, so that's good. But it could take some time for this stock because of the completion of this pattern. So it might actually go into a trading range, and it's really key that the stock is able to move above the 44 45 level. That way we could have actually another potential ABCD, which could take the stock to new all-time highs. However, getting below this low would actually mean that we might actually be looking at an ABCD correction, which could actually take the stock a little bit lower. So expecting more sort of a trading range until and unless the 44 45 level is broken to the upside. So this is what we are looking at in Bank of America. Let's take a look at the stock of Visa. Here we go. So the Visa stock is really interesting because the last time we took a look at the Visa stock, look, it has completed this ABCD, the one which is shown in the brown, and look, this is a weekly chart for a number of weeks. It's just gone sideways to lower, and this is why one of the reasons that this shows the power of the ABCD pattern. This is something which we really look at in on our channel, Market Chart Pattern. So something similar is developing in the American Express stock as well. So we really need to remain vigilant. And of course, on the JP Morgan, we have already completed a really big ABCD. So of course, that's going back several years, nearly about 15 years. So it's going to take a while for the momentum shift to take place. But we have a completed the ABCD and JP Morgan, and then here we have the smaller one completed from the 2022, excuse me, March of 2020 lows. So here, this is what the market is doing. So the chances are it's actually moving towards the 246 level, which is the 38.2% retracement. But it's also possible that it came really close. The low was 252, so just missing it by a few bucks. So the what we can actually watch for is a trend line. If this begins to break above the trend line, then we are actually looking for an expansion of this. The expansion of this one can actually take the stock a little bit higher to about $300. That remains a possibility. But we have seen since the March of 2024, after the completion of this big ABCD, the market for several months moving lower. In fact, what I see is happening is actually an ABCD, but here the CD leg is actually looks to be 1.618. No, it's actually 1.272 times the AB leg. So this is our A to B, and then if we just clone it, and this is our B to C, but it gets extended by 1.27, almost by 1.272. But the possibility still remains if it's not able to break above this trend line, that 246 will be the kind of region, and which is actually very close to 1.618 extension. So keep on watching 240 to 246 or the break of this trend line. So this is what we are looking at in Visa. Now let's take a look at MasterCard as well, which is MA. So the MasterCard stock actually looks stronger than the Visa. You can see that I haven't drawn an ABCD, but just visually thinking it's a very similar pattern to what we have in Visa. And here we go, there we go. So that's also an ABCD, and a very similar pattern to the Visa stock, but this stock is actually stronger. The reason is that it's taken above, it's taken out the highs of the swing highs of 24th of June. So that's really interesting. So we'll just keep on watching this one. I think the MasterCard for some reason is stronger. So very interesting. Now let's take a look at the Citigroup. This is Citigroup. Citigroup is also showing some strength, but look, it found resistance from the 61.8% retracement. So not a really great looking chart, to be very honest. It also broke below this wedge pattern. So there's a fair amount of weakness in my opinion in this stock. And the price remains below the 20-week period moving average. So until and unless it's able to convincingly close up with the 61.8% retracement, it's likely to move sideways to lower in my opinion. Then let's take a look at the Morgan Stanley. So the Morgan Stanley stock, I think it just completed this black ABCD double top formation in my opinion. Remains range bound. If it is able to really break above this double topping pattern around 109 or 110, then 1.270 expansion come around 120, but the chances remain that actually this just goes sideways for quite some time. Then let's take a look at the Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is also looking weak in my opinion, although the past 2 weeks have been good for the stock. And the reason I'm saying it's weak is because it's not able to take out the highs of the 2018. Now it went right into this gap from the February of 2018. This is what we had identified, and in my opinion we are in this head and shoulder pattern. So that's left shoulder, head, and the right shoulder. There's pretty good time symmetry between the left shoulder and the right shoulder with respect to the head, and then it also broke below this. If we were to draw a trend line like this, it broke below that, so the chances are it's moving towards this fulcrum, a little bit lower around 46 around here. But where it found support is from structural support coming in from the $50 mark right from here. Yeah, the price action over the last couple of weeks has been good, and we have seen overall markets being buoyant. But there's a lot of resistance, so the stock needs to do a lot of work actually. So we'll just keep on watching the price action for now. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you like our technical analysis, you find it of educational value, you learned something from it, you enjoyed watching the video, then please do subscribe, and if you do, then hit that bell icon button. That way you'll know when the new videos are posted, so you will not miss anything. And also if you just happen to like the video, then smash that like button. I will really appreciate that. It just means a lot to me that people actually who watch the videos, they actually find it of educational value. So it just encourages me to keep on making more videos for you guys. So thank you very much, have a great weekend, and speak to you guys soon.